Okay, welcome back to another episode. This is a What the Hell Is This? And this is one of the ones where I thought I shot someone foot quite a bit when I was through the second of the two films. It was not as fun as I remember. So yes, it's 2012 and Geostorm. This is the length of this one is the first one is directed by Roland Emmerich and the second one is directed by Dean Devlin until the reshoots when some other people took over. And both these guys did a lot of stuff in the 90s together. They did Universal Soldier, they did Stargate, they did Independence Day, they did that horrible Godzilla film. And then they broke up after Godzilla. And they went separate ways. Emmerich continued in the big budget films with mixed success, to be fair. I mean, he did stuff like Day After Tomorrow, which people liked. I enjoyed it. It was silly. He did 2012, which I'm going to get to in a minute. And he did a lot of other films that no one likes as much, including the Independence Day sequel that was terrible. And Devlin did disappear for a long time and he was just in development of stuff. And he came back with, this was his big comeback film, which is Geostorm. And then he got fired from it, or he left it, or something happened, and Danny Cannon, who did Judge Dredd, the first one, came in to do some reshoots. And then when you see the film, it was obviously a heavily reshot film. So that's why the connection. They both did very weather-based films. 2012 was the more fun of the two, but Geostorm is so stupid that it actually outdoes 2012 for stupidity, which is quite an accomplishment. So that's why this is a What the Hell Is This? Because when I first saw Geostorm, I actually was dying laughing for the first 10 minutes because it was so dumb. I just couldn't stop. I actually thought I was going to die laughing. I was actually having pains in my stomach from laughing so much for how stupid it was. And I eventually calmed down, but it was difficult. And some of the character interactions are so dumb as well. It's a horrible film, but it has a lot of good actors who are stuck in this stupid material, which makes it all the more fun. And that's the thing they both share. 2012 is the same thing. It's John Cusack in the lead, and he's probably wondering what the hell he's doing here. But he's game. He knows he's in a silly film, so he's kind of game, even though it's ridiculous. Woody Harrelson turns up as this weirdo, and he's having a lot of fun. And basically, it's John Cusack trying to save his family from the end of the world, where the climate's changing so quickly, and everything's the main prophecies are right. There's something up with various scientific things. I'm not even going to try and explain because honestly, I was just like, it doesn't matter. It's just to blow shit up. That's it. It's just so that Roland Emmerich, the thing he likes doing most is destroying big, famous buildings and have characters escape from them in the most ridiculous ways. And that's all this film is. It's almost like the sequence in Independence Day where they escape the White House blown up again and again and again and again. And that's fun because it gets more and more ridiculous. And you've got all these actors. You've got Danny Glover and Sandy Newton as the president and his daughter. And they're meant to be having these important dialogue scenes. You've got Turley Ejiofor as the leading scientist who's he's probably wondering what the hell he's doing in this film. But again, like John Cusack, he's game, he's picking up the check, but he's going to try his best to keep it interesting. He's kind of like what I said about the villains in the first G.I. Joe movie. They know they're in trash, but they're trying to be professional and try and make it enjoyable for anyone watching this trash. It's like this is my job, I'm going to try and make it work. So you've got all these actors doing the most ridiculous scenes of, we're talking about this book writer played by John Cusack, who wrote a book, who did all these suggestions, was heavily planned, and turned out he was right. Which is the most ridiculous thing ever. This weirdo who wrote this book that turns out to be right. And you're following him through it all, as he tries to save his family. It is the most ridiculous idea for a film. But it works in a kind of so bad is good way because it's utterly ridiculous, and every time they do an exposition scene, it's hilarious. I mean, I've seen 2012 about 3 times so far, and I'm going to watch it a few more times before I die, I think. It's just one of those great guilty pleasure movies. It's a mix of watching all this ridiculous action, which everybody would be dead within seconds. I mean, there's one point where they're outrunning an earthquake in this limo as half of LA gets destroyed, and they've got all these near misses, and they make it to the airport and escape, and it's utterly ridiculous. There's scenes in Las Vegas, as well as they have to escape in an even bigger plane, and there's scenes we have to go to see Woody Harrelson to find out what he knows, which turns out not be very much, so they can have a sequence where there's a massive escape from this area that's basically Yellowstone, and all that gets trashed. So every time they go somewhere, it's just so they can trash this other place. That's all it is. But it's so enjoyable. There's a Russian family who Kuzak drives for, who are very dodgy, and it's just fun though. I mean, it's just so ridiculously fun. Every character is a cliche. Every character is stunningly stupid. You know, it's every character. There's not one intelligent character in this film. Any character who's meant to be intelligent really isn't. But sometimes the actor charms you into thinking they're not that bad. You want to see them survive because you like the actor. That's all it is. There's just so many scenes of ridiculous, of planes flying under collapsing buildings and somehow escaping. Every time that happens, you go, make it more ridiculous, and they always do. It's just so much fun to watch how stupid this film is. You know, it's just terrific in its utter lack of brain power, and it always throws in another spanner in the works. It always throws in another problem that is useless and silly, and they don't need to have this problem. And half the times people dies because someone does something really stupid that having a half a second to think, maybe that's not a good idea, would have solved the problem. But it doesn't matter because I'm going to Emmerich film, so that always happens. And you've all the plan as a villain who throughout the film actually says stuff that makes sense. It's like, you kind of think, I know he's meant to be the villain, but he actually is the one who's making everything makes any sense. Because he's making sense, he's a villain. And at the end of it, they have to make him do something really bad just to make sure you do not think he's a good guy, because he's made too many. He's the only character who's made any kind of logical decision for the film. By the end of it, they have to make sure he does something bad just so you don't like him. It's hilarious. Because he's like the guy you think, oh, he's in charge. He's the only one who knows what he's doing. So it's full of characters being really stupid. It's full of actors playing parts that they're overqualified for, and they don't come through at all half the time. And it's just like you have respectable actors just demeaning themselves in the stupidest parts constantly. It's just so much fun. It's great. I mean, Tom McCarthy, who did Spotlight, is a director as well, who was in The Wire, shows up as the husband of John Cusack's ex-wife. And he's so likeable. They know they have to kill him, but he's like, God, he's actually so reasonable compared to John Cusack's character. It's like, he really should survive and Cusack should die. But it's like, no, the cliche is this family getting back together in this problem time. It's like, but the other guy's actually better. The film's full of that kind of thing. It's like, the heroic character is actually worse than the characters he's meant to look better than. But again, because he cast John Cusack, you kind of like him anyway. But even though his character does a lot of things wrong. So this is a really stupid film, but really enjoyable. I'd highly recommend this as What the Hell Is This? So those are my favourite What the Hell Is This film, because it's so dumb. Geostorm was much more of a difficult one to watch, because I remember laughing my head off throughout it the first time round, but on the rewatch, it was less fun, because I knew I was in trouble early on when I wasn't laughing as much. It was like, okay, this is a one viewing film. This is a you get a chuckles of the first one because the second time we watched it, I actually found like I was watching it and just getting annoyed with all the stupidity. It's about Gerard Butler is a scientist who saved the world. Bit of a problem with that one. He's also a scientist with a problem hiding the Scottish accent. Jim Sturgis' his brother, and I don't know how those two could both play Americans and both be in the same genetic pool, but they are. Um, Butler's character thinks his brother betrayed him for actually eventually because his brother actually gets sick of defending him for saying stupid things. Because the first thing that actually made me laugh is there was a investigation scene where Butler's in the investigated by the Senate, and he's such a dick throughout it. It's like, yeah, he should be fired, and the film acts as if, well, he shouldn't have been. It's like, no, he had it coming. And there's this whole narrative about how his brother betrayed him. It's like, no, his brother did him right. The guy was awful. And throughout it, Butler's trying to be this guy who's a rebel, but he just comes across as someone you want to punch. Bigger problem for your lead character. And Sturgis' character's not much better. He's just pretty spineless throughout. It's a film where you've got all these characters who are talking about this geostorm. The geostorm is this big thing that controls weather. It spreads all over the world. It's all these satellites that control the weather through some weird satellite thing that makes no sense. Film's been doing this for years. Weather controlling technology. That's the big thing of the villains. Hadn't Avengers the refined one. It was ridiculous. It always looks ridiculous. It doesn't work because it's a stupid concept. No one believes it. And they're doing this. They set it up and it's so stupid you're dying laughing at it. And then they're saying, oh, someone's tampering with the Geostorm. And every time they say Geostorm or someone's tampering with this technology, every time they do an explanation scene, the first time I watched this film, I was in the stitches. So that's a one film, it's a one watch film. You know, you're not going to get two viewings out of this one. And basically, it is so stupid. Second time round, when I was doing it for this video, it was much more painful to watch because there was just all these scenes, and there's obviously some of them are reshot. And I have no idea how bad the original version was, but it looks as if, from what I can see, it was probably pretty boring. And they threw in some more melodramatic stuff, which still was pretty stupid. And there's all this thing, is the president behind the Geostorms? Is the president the big villain? And it's like, no, he's obviously not. They bring in Ed Harris, who's phoning it in from God knows where, pretty much. He's in these scenes and he's doing his best, but you can tell he knows he's in a loser. But he's just thinking, I'm going to chew all the scenery I've got available to me in these few scenes. Because he's obviously, because I heard he was the one that was put in later, and the kid has dropped into these various scenes that do seem underpopulated, so it does make sense that he was added later. And there's all this stuff about there's a shutdown to this Geostorm thing, this technology that's so complicated that it makes no sense. So that's another reason why I thought it was hilarious first time round, because the explanation of how to shut it down was through so many strange political moves and so many strange technological moves rather than just having a button saying shut it down. It's stupid. The second half's astonishingly stupid. And all the plotting is around the idea of we have to set it up or we have to shut it down. Can't we just have a button? All you need is a big red button. That's all this plot needed at any point in the film. Because as soon as there's one of the satellites create as weather that actually kills people, they should just say, "I'll just shut it down. We'll find out what's the problem." No, they've got all these machinations to say, no, we're going to send Gerard Butler up to fix it. And there's all these conspiracy theories around it, and people try to kill him up in space. And the person who's trying to do it is obvious because, you know, what his job is and how he's acting. It's obvious who the villain is, like, straight away. And it basically turned into the worst Moonraker rip-off ever. It's like, you remember how cheesy Moonraker was? All the space scenes in this film is Moonraker. And it's just ridiculous. It's like, it's full of these scenes that go on and on. You're thinking, just have a button. And there's a big conspiracy about who's behind it all. And it's like, if any of this stuff happened in real life, if this technology existed, and this happened, people would be like, the first time it happened, like, okay, shut it down. And instead of all this conspiracy theory, and it's like, why do you shut it down? So the whole movie, the whole second half of the movie is all this stuff happening, and it's like, just shut it down. So these actors are trying to make these scenes work, and during a scene where they have to have speaking code, someone actually has to say to the other person, because the other person's Gerard Butler, when they're speaking code now. It's so ridiculous. Yeah, it's that kind of movie. And the code stuff, it's every moment is like, there's these scenes where Butler has to go out and find this information on this piece of equipment that's been knocked off during an explosion, and his spacesuit goes wrong and he has to save himself. There's all these other things that's so obviously just thrown in to try and fill the running time because there's no real plot here. As I said before, just shut it down. So all these weird conspiracy theories of scenes, so all these scenes that are happening, and you're like, what's the point? But again, the first time I watched it, I was laughing so much. Especially the first 20 minutes, but even after that, I was laughing so much how stupid it was that it was. It was like I was watching a Mel Brooks film. Because it kind of is. It just has no obvious jokes. And I was like, this is a film that could be an airplane film for the disaster movies of the last 20 years. This film is just so stupid. It's bizarrely wonderful in the first viewing though, because it is stupid. You've Abby Cornish as a Secret Service agent, and she's trying her best, but she has nothing throughout it. She has all these weird scenes with Jim Sturgis, and they're trying their best to make it look like a couple, and there's all these other actors and actresses that turn up from supporting parts of these conspiracy theories. There's a point where Hong Kong gets destroyed again, or Shanghai, and this guy who's trying to escape in his little mini car throughout it, and he sees information, and it's so ridiculous. It's kind of what I just said about 2012, where there's all these ridiculous things. Like, it's so funny. I was watching this guy escape from this situation because he'd always be dead in 2 seconds. And again, that's the second situation. The first situation where this place in the Sahara, people get frozen to death, that's instantly shut it down. Then this thing happens in Hong Kong or Shanghai, that should be instant shut down. No, it's a gas leak. How is this a gas leak? It's so obviously not a gas leak. And this thing happens again and again. It's like, then all over a geostorm of this thing keeps happening, of all these different things going on at the same time. That's what geostorm is, in this movie's logic. Is a bunch of satellites blown up and causing these problems, and they all come together and destroy the world, and the people in power can start again. Just like the plan was in 2012, but in 2012 it was a natural disaster. This time it's man-made planned. But it's just as dumb. Actually, it's even dumber than the other one. At least the other one was natural disasters. So, Geostorm is one of the world's stupidest films. But that's not an insult, because I could watch it again 10 years and enjoy the hell out of it again, just laughing at it. Who knows? But it is something to see. It's rare to see a film this dumb been put out. This is monumentally stupid. It is quite a sight. So I hope you enjoyed this What the Hell Is This? Of these two films. They were quite an experience. I mean, 2012 was more fun because it knows what it is. Geostorm thinks it's a proper science fiction movie, and it's really not. It's as far from proper science fiction as you can possibly get, because the whole idea behind the main thing is so dumb in the first place. It's like, it's one of those things, what are you doing? So, I'll be back soon with some more videos. We're going to come up to Halloween. So in October, the beginning of October, I've got a video already pre-shot for 2 Idiots Talk Horror Movies, which will be coming up in the 1st of October, so hopefully you look forward to that. I was done a couple of weeks ago, so it's just waiting there for October to begin. That'll be a case of having videos talking about films you can maybe watch in October. So I'll see you later. Right, bye for now.